Hey friends, it's Allie with Allie's Boutique, and usually when I do these intro videos I try to fix myself up, but I had to get this video done, but not all fancied up. This video that I did today was a special request, but I was so excited to do it. So I've been wanting to try this. I ran out to Hobby Lobby and grabbed up some inexpensive plastic pumpkins that are on sale right now. These were just orange. I think they were orange. We'll see in the video. I can't remember. But they were just plain old pumpkins with nothing on them. And the request was to use the IOD Moulds air dry clay and to apply them to a pumpkin and create a curly stem out of the regular stem. So this stem was just a little stump, and you'll see in the video how I extended the stem. Check out this video, and thank you so much for the request. If you have a request for a video you'd like to see, just drop it in the comments and I'll get it done. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing I did was take my IOD mold and I lightly dusted it with some cornstarch to keep the clay from sticking in there. Now I am pressing in my air dry clay. I like to use IOD's air dry clay, and I'm just making sure that that clay gets down into all the details of the mold. Now I like to really press it down in there, make sure all the clay is connected. I'm misting it with a little bit of water and just rubbing it into that mold, making sure that all of it is pressed down. If I have any excess, I'm just sliding it off with, I'm using an Alley-Oops gift card, but you can use a credit card. This was a very detailed mold, but it came out really easy. And I'm taking the air dry clay applique, and I'm going to place it onto my pumpkin and let it kind of take the shape of the pumpkin while I'm working on the rest of the air dry clay applique. So now that I have them all done, I'm going to use Gorilla Glue. You can use Type Bond, E6000, whichever glue you prefer that's appropriate for this surface. But I like to use this clear Gorilla Glue. And I'm going to put the glue all over the air dry clay applique. That's a lot to say. And just make sure that the glue is all over it, all on the edges, all in the center. That way this air dry clay applique will adhere to the pumpkin really well. And now I'm going to take a little plastic spatula and spread that glue out just to make sure that it's on every little section of this applique before I put it on the pumpkin. Now you'll notice that my air dry clay applique is not dry. I want it to be pliable, so I am gluing it onto the pumpkin before the clay has dried. This way it will take the shape of the pumpkin while it is drying.
Look at me sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out.
Now after you have all the air dry clay appliques on your pumpkin, you can put a little painter's tape while the glue dries to keep them in place, keep them from sliding. So I had actually done this pumpkin earlier. I had tried to record it, but realized I didn't have enough room on my hard drive to save the video. So I had an extra pumpkin. I am painting the pumpkin DIY Aviary, I believe is the color. And I am doing about 2 to 3 coats of this color on the pumpkin. Now while that green pumpkin dries, I'm going to paint my other pumpkin, Dixie Belle's drop cloth. Now my air dry clay appliques are all glued on. The glue is dry and I can paint it now. And I'm going to put about 2 coats of Dixie Belle's drop cloth all over the pumpkin. So while I'm waiting for the drop cloth pumpkin to dry, I am going to paint the stem of my green pumpkin. Now, I did want to tell you I put a coat of white wax all over the green pumpkin once the paint was dry. And now I'm painting the stem with one of my favorite acrylic gold paints. I believe it's Art Deco's Glorious Gold. And I'm just dry brushing some Glorious Gold over the appliques to give them a little bit of gold embellishment. Now, even though that was very pretty, it wasn't quite enough gold, so I grabbed my Dixie Belle's Gold Gilding Wax and I added a little bit more onto the details of the air dry clay applique. And now to extend the stem into a curly stem, I had a sweet subscriber suggest using wire in the clay to create that twisty stem. Now, as you see, this stem has a stump of a stem. I drilled a hole, a teeny tiny hole, right down the center. You probably could poke one, but the wire I was using was not particularly stiff, so I drilled a teeny tiny hole. And now I'm taking the air dry clay, and I tried and tried to make a curly stem out of the air dry clay. And so I was doing that, and I thought I'll just wrap this air dry clay around this wire and then start to twist it. Well, when I started to twist it, the air dry clay, is, I don't know what the right word is, but it's kind of porous and not as dense as a polymer clay maybe. And so every time I twisted it, it would kind of break apart and it just didn't hold its shape. So I struggled and I tried, but I finally gave up and I grabbed some polymer clay. So what I did with the polymer clay is I just rolled out a length of a stem, kind of fatter at the bottom, thinner at the top, but long enough that I could kind of twist it into a curly Q. And now I'm taking a piece of wire and just threading it down the center of the polymer clay stem. And once I did that, I kind of made it three-sided, so to speak. I pressed down all the way down the stem, kind of like to where it was almost triangular, so that it looked like it might have had ridges like a natural stem. So I'm just pressing down one side, flipping it, pressing down the second side, flipping it, and then pressing down the third side. So my holdback on the polymer clay was that I was going to have to bake it. And I didn't know about baking it with the wire in there. But I took my chances. I'm not suggesting that you do this, but I did. Now, once I had it three-sided, I started to twist it gently, and I found that the polymer clay held its shape much better, stayed on the wire, and just overall worked way better. So I am twisting the stem now. Once I twisted it lengthwise, now I'm creating a curly Q and kind of curling that stem around into a little twist. Now I would cut this short, but I'm going to leave this in the video because it is hard to explain, and I thought you might just want to kind of see how I did it. And I apologize when I go off camera with it. I just get lost in working and forget to make sure I'm within the frame of the camera.
So while my stem was baking, I followed the manufacturer's instructions, by the way, on baking the polymer clay. I wanted to go ahead and add a coat of brown wax to my pumpkin. I used Dixie Belle's Brown Wax. I put a lot on and I wiped it back with a baby wipe because I really didn't want it that dark. I got a little carried away with the wax. So here I am just kind of wiping it back. Now here's my stem. It's all baked. I am so excited as to how it turned out. It fits the pumpkin perfectly and the little wire slides into the teeny tiny hole that I drilled. But because I shaped the stem around the original pumpkin stem, it is a perfect fit. Now I'm gonna take my Gorilla Glue and glue it in place. Now after the glue is dry, I took a little Dixie Belle's mud in the color white and put it in where the curly stem joined the original stem, and I let that dry. But I wanted to do that so there would be no little line showing where the two stems met, and the Dixie Belle mud worked perfectly. So now I'm just putting a coat of Dixie Belle drop cloth paint onto my stem before I paint it gold. So on this stem, I used my antique gold and I painted the entire stem antique gold. And it's an acrylic gold paint, and I'll list it all in the description of this video, the supplies that I used. Once I got a good coat of the antique gold, I then went in and applied the glorious gold. So it's kind of like a two-tone gold effect. Then I took the gold paint and I just dry brushed it all over the details of the air dry clay appliques. And I went in with both colors, the antique gold and the glorious gold. On this pumpkin, I did not use the gilding wax, just the gold paints. Now, I had such a fun time doing this subscriber request, and I hope that if you have a project that you've been wanting to try and you would love to see a video made about it, please let me know in the comments. I have so much fun trying new things and creating these videos, so I look forward to seeing it in the comments. I think this pumpkin turned out just beautiful, and it is the perfect addition to my pumpkin display. If you haven't already, I would love to invite you to subscribe to our channel. And if you like this video and this project, will you please like this video and leave us a comment. Tell us what you liked about it or if you've tried this yourself. And as always, thanks for watching.